The massive war chamber of the Vorthak Empire buzzed with the sound of 1,000 voices speaking in clicks and hisses. Admiral Grixtal stood at the center of the room, his reptilian form towering over the holographic display that showed the galaxy's known territories. His crystalline implants glowed bright red as he studied the star maps, marking each conquered world with satisfaction. "Another sector falls to our might," he declared, his voice echoing through the bioorganic walls of the command ship. This chamber walls pulsed with living light, responding to his emotional state. Around him, his officers nodded in agreement, their own crystal implants flickering with approval. For 3,000 years, the Vorthak Empire had ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. Their bioships were living creatures, bred for war, capable of healing themselves and adapting to any threat. No enemy had ever withstood their assault for more than a few days. The very mention of their name made entire star systems surrender without a fight. Commander Veltar approached the Admiral with careful steps. His younger implants glowed a nervous blue as he prepared to deliver his report. "Admiral, our scouts have returned from the Outer Rim territories. They bring news of a new species." Grixtal turned his massive head toward his subordinate. "Another primitive race seeking to challenge us? How refreshing. It has been months since we had proper entertainment. They call themselves humans, sir. They have spread across 12 star systems in the past 50 years. Our scouts report they use crude, metal ships powered by primitive fusion reactors." The Admiral's laugh was a deep, rumbling sound that made the bio-walls shiver. "Metal ships? How quaint. These creatures still use dead materials for their vessels. They must be even more backward than the Xylons were before we crushed them." Other officers joined in the laughter. The idea of using non-living materials for spacecraft was considered primitive beyond belief in Vorthak culture. Their bioships could think, adapt, and evolve during battle. They could regenerate damage and improve their weapons based on enemy tactics. How could dead metal possibly compete with such perfection? "Sir, there is more," Veltar continued, his implants now glowing orange with uncertainty. "The humans have established colonies in the Kepler sector. That region borders 3 of our tributary worlds. The local governors are requesting guidance on how to handle this encroachment." Grixtal's implants flared brilliant red. The Kepler sector was considered Vorthak territory, even if they had not yet bothered to fully claim it. For a primitive species to dare establish colonies there was beyond insulting. It was unthinkable. "Gather the 3rd battle fleet," he commanded. 200 ships should be more than sufficient to deal with these metal-wielding primitives. We will make an example of them that will echo across the galaxy for generations. Sir, should we attempt communication first? Standard protocol suggests... Protocol? Grixtal's roar silenced the chamber. "We are the Vorthak. We do not negotiate with lesser species. We conquer them. These humans will learn their place in the galactic order, or they will cease to exist." The Admiral moved to the central display and began selecting ships for his fleet. Each vessel was a masterpiece of bioengineering, grown in the breeding pools of the Vorthak homeworld. The smallest cruiser was over 2 kilometers long, its living hull capable of withstanding plasma bombardment and regenerating from any damage. The largest battleships were truly magnificent, 5-kilometer-long predators of space armed with bioplasma cannons that could melt entire continents. The Devour-class battleships will lead the assault, Grixtal decided, pointing to the largest ships on the display. Their bioweapons have never failed to crack enemy defenses. Behind them, we'll deploy the Consume-class cruisers for cleanup operations. The destroyer swarms will handle any escape attempts. As he spoke, his officers took notes on their organic tablets, the living documents recording every detail of the planned assault. The biocomputers began calculating optimal hyperspace, routes to human territory, their neural networks pulsing with activity. "What do we know of human military capabilities?" asked Sub-Commander Rathix, a younger officer eager to prove himself. Veltar consulted his bio-tablet. "Very little, sir. Our scouts observed their ships from a distance. The vessels appear to be constructed from various metals and ceramics. They emit primitive electromagnetic signatures consistent with fusion-based propulsion. No biosignatures detected in their ship hulls whatsoever." "Dead ships," Grixtal mused. "How do they expect such lifeless constructs to adapt to changing battle conditions? How do they heal battle damage without regenerative capability? These humans must be desperate indeed to rely on such inferior technology." The meeting continued for another hour as the Admiral finalized his plans. The attack would be swift and decisive. The Vorthak fleet would emerge from hyperspace in the heart of human territory, demonstrate their overwhelming superiority, and demand immediate surrender. Any resistance would be crushed without mercy. "Sir," Veltar spoke up again, "the Galactic Council has requested that all member species attempt peaceful contact with newly discovered civilizations before engaging in hostilities." The chamber fell silent. The Galactic Council was a loose alliance of older civilizations that had somehow managed to avoid complete conquest by the Vorthak. They were useful for managing trade routes and maintaining order in sectors the Empire had not yet claimed, but their suggestions carried little weight with Vorthak leadership. "The Council grows soft in their old age," Grixtal dismissed. "They forget that the galaxy belongs to the strong. These humans encroach on our territory, therefore they will face our wrath. The Council's opinion is irrelevant." He turned back to the star map, his implants now glowing with eager anticipation. "Prepare the fleet for departure. We launch at the next tide cycle. I want to reach human space before they have time to organize any meaningful defense." As his officers dispersed to carry out their orders, Admiral Grixtal remained alone with the star map. He traced the boundaries of human territory with one clawed finger, imagining how quickly those colonies would fall to Vorthak might. 200 bioships against whatever pathetic metal constructs these primitives called warships. It would be over in minutes. The Admiral's implants pulsed with satisfaction as he pictured the coming battle. Soon, the humans would learn what every other species in the galaxy had learned. Resistance to the Vorthak Empire was futile. Their dead metal ships would be torn apart by living weapons that had evolved for millions of years to be perfect instruments of war. In less than 48 hours, the third battle fleet would emerge from hyperspace and deliver the Empire's message to humanity. It would be a lesson they would never forget, assuming any of them survived to remember it. Captain Minho sat in his command chair aboard the UES Indomitable, watching the stars drift past the main view screen. The Terran Federation battlecruiser was on routine patrol along the edge of human space, checking trade routes and monitoring for any unusual activity. It was the kind of assignment that most officers found boring, but Minho appreciated the quiet moments between the chaos of deep space exploration. The bridge was a marvel of human engineering, filled with clean lines and efficient design. Multiple holographic displays showed ship status, navigation data, and sensor readings. The soft hum of the fusion reactors provided a constant background noise that the crew had long since learned to ignore. "Captain, we're approaching the Kepler 442. System!" announced Navigator Jiwan from her station. Her fingers danced across the control interface, adjusting their course with practiced precision. Should we perform a standard sweep of the outer planets? Proceed as planned, Minho replied, settling back in his chair. He had served in the Terran Federation Navy for 15 years, working his way up from a junior engineer to commanding one of humanity's most advanced warships. The Indomitable was a Nemesis-class battlecruiser, armed with the latest in human military technology and crewed by some of the finest officers in the fleet. At the weapons station, Lieutenant Tai Hyung ran his daily diagnostics on the ship's armament. The Indomitable carried enough firepower to level a small moon, but most of their patrols involved nothing more exciting than checking shipping manifests and investigating distress signals. Still, Tae-hyung kept the weapons in perfect condition, knowing that in deep space, preparation could mean the difference between life and death. Chief Engineer Nari monitored the ship's systems from her station near the back of the bridge. The Indomitable's power core was a masterpiece of human innovation, a controlled fusion reactor that could generate enough energy to power a small city. The ship's shields, weapons, and propulsion systems all drew from this massive power source, giving human vessels capabilities that would have seemed impossible just a century earlier. Captain, I'm picking up some unusual energy signatures on long-range sensors, reported Communications Officer Hyun-woo. His station was alive with data, streams from across the electromagnetic spectrum, monitoring everything from radio chatter to quantum fluctuations. The readings are unlike anything in our database. Minho straightened in his chair. After months of routine patrols, anything unusual was worth investigating. Can you identify the source? Negative, sir. The energy patterns are completely foreign. They're coming from the outer edge of the system near the asteroid belt. Hyun-woo's fingers flew over his controls, trying to make sense of the strange readings. Sir, these signatures don't match any known human technology. They're not natural phenomena either. Navigator Jiwan turned from her station. Could be a first contact situation, Captain. We're pretty far out here. It's possible we've encountered technology from a previously unknown civilization. The possibility of first contact sent a ripple of excitement through the bridge crew. Humanity had been exploring space for over 2 centuries, but they had yet to encounter another intelligent species. There were theories, of course. The galaxy was vast, and the odds suggested other civilizations must exist. But proof had remained elusive. Set course for the energy source, Minho commanded. Alert all departments to prepare for possible first contact protocols. I want every sensor, array active, and all systems ready for anything we might encounter. As the Indomitable changed course, Chief Engineer Nari reported from her station. All systems operating at peak efficiency, Captain. Fusion reactors are stable, shields are at full power, and weapon systems are standing by. Whatever we're heading toward, we're ready for it. The ship's artificial intelligence assisted with navigation calculations while Jiwan plotted their approach vector. Human ships relied heavily on advanced computer systems, but always with human oversight and control. The fusion of artificial intelligence and human intuition had proven to be humanity's greatest strength in space exploration. Captain, I'm getting more detailed readings now, Hyun-woo announced as they drew closer to the anomalous energy source. The signatures are becoming clearer, and sir, I think there are multiple sources, a lot of them. Lieutenant Tae-hyung looked up from his weapons console. Could be a fleet of some kind. The energy patterns suggest massive power generation, much larger than anything we've seen before. Minho felt a chill run down his spine. A fleet of unknown alien vessels on the edge of human space was not the kind of first contact scenario they had hoped for. Still, he maintained his calm demeanor. The crew looked to him for leadership, and panic would serve no one. "How long until we reach sensor range for visual confirmation?" he asked. "Approximately 20 minutes at current speed," Jiwan replied. "Should I prepare an evasive course in case we need to withdraw quickly?" "Do it, but maintain our current heading for now." "Hyunwoo, prepare a standard first contact message. We'll try to establish communication before making any assumptions about their intentions." As the minutes ticked by, the energy signatures grew stronger and more complex. Whatever technology was generating them was clearly far beyond anything humanity had previously encountered. The readings suggested power outputs that dwarfed even the largest human industrial facilities. "Sir, I'm starting to pick up what might be communication signals," Hyunwoo reported. "The patterns are complex and definitely artificial, but the language is completely unknown. The computer is attempting to establish a translation matrix, but it's going to take time." Chief Engineer Nari monitored the ship's defensive systems with growing concern. "Captain, based on these energy readings, whatever we're approaching has firepower that makes our weapons look like toys. If they're hostile, we might be in serious trouble." "Noted," Minho replied calmly. "But we're here, and withdrawal might be interpreted as an act of aggression. We'll proceed with caution and hope for peaceful contact." Lieutenant Taehyung ran a final check on the Indomitable's weapon systems. The ship carried antimatter torpedoes, plasma cannons, and particle beam arrays, the most advanced weapons in the human arsenal. But against an unknown alien technology, there was no way to predict how effective they would be. "Visual contact in 30 seconds, Navigator Jiwan announced. The bridge fell silent as the crew prepared to see their first alien civilization. Whatever was waiting for them in the Kepler system would change humanity's understanding of their place in the galaxy forever. "On screen," Captain Minho commanded. The main view screen shifted to show the space ahead of them, and what they saw took their breath away. Hundreds of massive, organic-looking ships hung in formation near the asteroid belt, their hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. The vessels were unlike anything in human experience, clearly artificial, but somehow alive. "My God," whispered Communications Officer Hyunwoo. "How many of them are there?" Navigator Jiwan checked her readings. "I count over 200 vessels, Captain. Some of them are enormous, larger than our biggest battleships." As they watched, the alien fleet began to move, turning toward the approaching human ship with predatory grace. Whatever these beings were, they had clearly detected the Indomitable's approach. Captain Minho took a deep breath. First contact with an alien civilization was about to begin, and humanity's future might depend on how the next few minutes unfolded. The space around the Indomitable suddenly filled with the massive forms of alien warships as they emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Admiral Grixie Tal's fleet appeared with the precision of a military parade, each bioship taking its designated position in the attack formation that had conquered 1,000 worlds. The largest vessels were truly magnificent in their alien horror. 5 kilometers of living ship stretched across space, their organic hulls pulsing with veins of light that ran along their entire length. Weapon ports opened and closed like breathing organisms, revealing glimpses of the bioplasma cannons within. The ships moved with a fluid grace that no human vessel could match, their living nature allowing them to twist and turn as if swimming through space. "Captain, I'm reading massive biosignatures from all of the alien vessels," reported Chief Engineer Nari, her voice filled with amazement. "These ships aren't just constructed, they're alive. The hulls are showing cellular activity, neural networks, circulatory systems. It's like they're giant space-going creatures. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Grixtal surveyed the single human ship through his bioorganic view screen. The primitive metal construct looked pathetic compared to the magnificent living fleet that surrounded it. Its angular design and dull gray surface showed none of the elegant curves and pulsing life of Vorthak biotechnology. "Observe the crude construction," he said to his officers, his crystalline implants glowing with amusement. Dead metal welded together like a child's toy. No adaptive capability, no regenerative systems, no evolutionary potential. How do such primitive beings survive in the hostile environment of space? Commander Veltar studied the tactical display showing the lone human vessel. "It appears to be some kind of military ship, Admiral. I detect weapon emplacements and what might be defensive systems, but the technology is completely foreign to us." "Foreign and inferior," Grixtal corrected. "Prepare to broadcast our demands. These humans will surrender their ship and submit to Vorthak authority, or they will be destroyed. There will be no other options." Aboard the Indomitable, Communications Officer Hyunwoo suddenly straightened at his station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission on multiple frequencies. It's in an unknown language, but the computer is working. On translation." Captain Minho watched the alien fleet through the main view screen, noting how they had positioned themselves to surround his ship. The formation was clearly aggressive, designed to prevent escape and maximize firepower concentration. Despite being vastly outnumbered, he felt oddly calm. His training had prepared him for situations like this, even if no one had expected first contact to involve hostile aliens. "Any progress on the translation?" he asked. "Getting something now, sir. The message is being repeated on a loop." Hyunwoo's face grew pale as the translation appeared on his screen. "Captain, they're demanding our immediate surrender. The entity identifying itself as Admiral Grixtal claims this territory belongs to something called the Vorthak Empire. They want us to power down our weapons and prepare to be boarded." Lieutenant Tae-hyung looked up from his weapons console. "Sir, I've completed my analysis of the alien ships. They're definitely organic in nature, but I'm detecting some kind of energy-based weapon systems. The power readings are significant, but their technology appears to be fundamentally different from ours." Navigator Ji-won monitored their tactical situation. "We're completely surrounded, Captain. 200 ships against one. If we try to run, they'll be able to intercept us before we can reach hyperspace." The bridge crew waited for their captain's decision. Everyone understood the gravity of the situation. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and it appeared to be hostile. The wrong move here could lead to war between species, or worse, the complete destruction of human space exploration efforts. "Open a channel," Captain Minho commanded. "Let's try to establish peaceful dialogue." Admiral Grixtal's image appeared on the main view screen, and the human crew got their first look at the aliens they were facing. The Vorthak Admiral was an imposing figure, 3 meters tall with reptilian features and skin that seemed to shift between different shades of green and brown. Crystalline implants were embedded throughout his skull and neck, glowing with red light that indicated his emotional state. "I am Admiral Grixtal of the Vorthak Empire," the alien declared, his voice carrying through the translation software with a deep, threatening tone. "You are trespassing in Imperial territory. Surrender your vessel immediately or face the consequences of your defiance." Captain Minho stepped forward, positioning himself in front of the view screen. "I am Captain Minho of the Terran Federation starship Indomitable. We were not aware this region was claimed by your empire. We are explorers and traders seeking peaceful contact with new civilizations. Perhaps we can resolve this misunderstanding through diplomacy." The alien admiral's crystalline implants flared brighter red. Diplomacy? You speak of diplomacy while piloting a military vessel armed with primitive weapons? The Vorthak Empire does not negotiate with inferior species. You will surrender, or you will be destroyed. Behind Grick's tail, other Vorthak officers could be seen gesturing at their bio-organic control panels. The living walls of their command center pulsed with patterns of light that seemed to respond to the emotional state of the crew. Everything about their technology was alien and disturbing to human eyes. "We have no intention of surrendering our ship," Captain Minho replied firmly. "However, we are willing to withdraw from this region if you will allow us safe passage. There's no need for conflict between our peoples." Admiral Grickstall's laugh was a harsh, grating sound that made the human crew uncomfortable. "Withdraw? You misunderstand the situation, primitive creature. This is not a negotiation. You are surrounded by the third battle fleet of the Vorthak Empire. Your crude metal ship is hopelessly outmatched. Surrender now, and some of your crew may be allowed to live as slaves. Continue this foolish defiance, and you will all die," Chief Engineer Nari whispered to the captain from her station. "Sir, I'm analyzing their ship construction. These bio-vessels are incredible from an engineering standpoint, but they operate on completely different principles from our technology. I can't predict how they'll interact with our weapons or defenses." Communications Officer Hyunwoo was monitoring alien communications between the fleet ships. "Captain, they're coordinating their attack formations. It looks like they're preparing to demonstrate their firepower as some kind of warning." On the main view screen, Admiral Grickstall gestured to his officers. "Since you refuse to see reason, we will provide a demonstration of Vorthak superiority. 3 of my ships will fire warning shots. If your vessel survives this minimal display of power, you will have exactly 1 minute to surrender before we unleash our full fury." The transmission ended, and the tactical display showed 3 of the smaller alien vessels moving into firing position. Their bioweapon ports began to glow with building energy, preparing to fire some kind of plasma-based attack. "All hands, brace for impact," Captain Minho announced over the ship's communication system. "Raise shields to maximum power." Lieutenant Tae-hyung watched his defensive systems display as the ship's energy shields came online. "Shields at 100%. Captain, all defensive systems ready." The Indomitable's energy shields formed an invisible barrier around the ship, capable of deflecting or absorbing most forms of energy-based attacks. The shield generators drew power directly from the ship's fusion reactors, creating a protective field that could withstand tremendous punishment. On the alien flagship, Admiral Grickstall watched the human ship with satisfaction. The warning shots would demonstrate the futility of resistance, and then these primitives would beg for mercy. It was always the same pattern with inferior species: initial defiance followed by complete submission once they understood their true situation. "Fire the demonstration," he commanded. The 3 Vorthak ships opened fire simultaneously, their bioweapon ports discharging streams of superheated plasma that had vaporized countless enemy vessels across the galaxy. The brilliant green energy bolts streaked across space toward the lone human ship, carrying enough destructive power to melt through several meters of conventional armor plating. Communications Officer Hyunwoo had been monitoring alien communications and caught fragments of their tactical chatter. "Captain, they're calling this a minimal demonstration. Based on their communications, they expect these shots to cripple or destroy us." The plasma bolts struck the Indomitable's energy shields and erupted in spectacular displays of light and energy. The ship's defensive barriers absorbed the alien weapon's fire completely, dissipating the energy across the shield matrix without allowing any damage to reach the hull. The bridge crew felt only a slight vibration as the shields processed the incoming attack. "Shield status report," Captain Minho called out, maintaining his calm demeanor despite the historic nature of the moment. Chief Engineer Nari checked her displays with professional efficiency. "Shields holding at 98% efficiency, Captain. The alien weapons appear to be plasma-based, similar to our own technology but less refined. Our defensive systems handled the attack without difficulty." On the main view screen, the alien fleet remained in formation, but there was clearly confusion among their ranks. Alien communication channels buzzed with rapid exchanges in their clicking, hissing language as they tried to understand why their weapons had failed to damage. The human ship, Admiral Grixtal, stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The human vessel showed no signs of damage, no hull breaches, no system failures, no indication that the warning shots had any effect whatsoever. His crystalline implants flickered between red and orange as confusion replaced his earlier confidence. "Commander, Veltar, explain what just happened," he demanded. "Why is that primitive ship still intact?" Veltar studied his bioorganic sensor readings, his own implants glowing with uncertainty. "Admiral, our weapon struck the target directly. The energy discharge was normal and the impact was confirmed. However, the human ship appears to have some kind of defensive barrier that absorbed our plasma bolts completely." "Defensive barrier?" Grixtal's implants flared red with anger. "No known technology can completely negate bioplasma weapons. Our scientists have perfected these systems over millions of years of evolution. Scan their ship again." The biosensors of the Vorthak fleet focused on the Indomitable, probing its hull and energy signatures with increasing intensity. What they found challenged everything they understood about spacecraft construction. "Admiral, the readings are confusing," reported Subcommander Rathix from the sensor station. "The human ship appears to be surrounded by some kind of energy field generated by massive power cores. The energy output is enormous, far beyond what should be possible from such a small vessel." Aboard the Indomitable, Lieutenant Tae-hyung monitored the alien scanning attempts. "Captain, they're probing our ship with various sensor sweeps. Should I activate our jamming systems?" "Not yet," Captain Minho replied. "Let them scan. Maybe understanding our defensive capabilities will convince them that peaceful contact is preferable to conflict." Navigator Ji-won watched the alien fleet, positioning on her tactical display. "Sir, some of their ships are moving to different attack angles. It looks like they're preparing for a more coordinated assault." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Everyone understood that their first contact situation was rapidly deteriorating. The aliens had fired upon them without provocation, and their continued aggressive posturing suggested they had no interest in peaceful dialogue. Communications Officer Hyun-woo received another transmission from the alien flagship. "Captain, Admiral, Grixtal is demanding to speak with you again." "Put him through." The Vorthak Admiral's image reappeared on the main screen, his crystalline implants now pulsing with frustrated anger. "Human Captain, your vessel possesses defensive technology, unknown to Vorthak science. This is unexpected. However, do not mistake this temporary reprieve for salvation. Our demonstration was intentionally limited. The full firepower of my fleet will overwhelm any defense you possess." Captain Minho stepped forward again, hoping to find some path to peaceful resolution. "Admiral Grixtal, as I said before, we seek no conflict with your people. Our defensive capabilities should demonstrate that we are not defenseless primitives. Perhaps this is an opportunity for our civilizations to learn from each other through peaceful exchange. Learn from you? Grixtal's laugh was even harsher than before. The Vorthak Empire has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. We are the apex predators of space, evolved to perfection through countless generations of warfare. Your crude metal ship may have some tricks, but you are still nothing compared to the might of living biotechnology. Behind the Admiral, other Vorthak officers were gesturing excitedly at their displays. Chief Engineer Nari, who had been studying the alien ship construction through their sensor readings, made an important observation. Captain, I'm beginning to understand their technology better. Their ships are entirely biological, living creatures bred and modified for warfare. They can heal damage, adapt to threats, and evolve their capabilities over time. It's actually quite impressive from a bioengineering standpoint. But they don't understand our technology at all, added Lieutenant Tae-hyung. They keep referring to our ship as crude metal, but they clearly don't comprehend fusion power, energy shields, or antimatter weapons. To them, we must seem impossibly primitive. Admiral Grixtal continued his demands. You will surrender your ship for study, human captain. Vorthak scientists will examine your defensive technology and incorporate any useful elements into our bioships. Your crew will be taken as specimens to understand how such primitive beings developed functional space travel. The casual mention of taking his crew as specimens hardened Captain Minho's resolve. That is not acceptable, Admiral. We will not surrender our ship or our crew. I'll ask you one final time. Will you allow us to withdraw peacefully from this region? Withdraw? Grixtal's implants blazed with fury. You dare make demands of the Vorthak Empire? Your arrogance is astounding for such an inferior species. Very well. Since you refuse to acknowledge your proper place in the Galactic Order, we will demonstrate the full power of our bioweapons. Perhaps when your ship is a burning wreck, the survivors will be more cooperative. The transmission ended abruptly. Across the alien fleet, weapon ports began to glow as hundreds of bioplasma cannons prepared to fire. The aliens were clearly planning a coordinated assault that would overwhelm the human ship through sheer volume of firepower. All hands, prepare for incoming fire, Captain Minho announced. All departments, report readiness status. Chief Engineer, Nari confirmed that all systems were operating at peak efficiency. The fusion reactors were stable, shields were at maximum power, and all defensive systems were ready. Lieutenant Tae-hyung prepared the ship's weapon systems, knowing that after being fired upon, they would be justified in defending themselves. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildup across their entire fleet, reported Communications Officer Hyun-woo. They're preparing to hit us with everything they have. Navigator Ji-won calculated escape routes, but the alien formation made retreat impossible. We're completely surrounded, sir. If we're going to fight our way out, we'll need to go through them. Admiral Grixtal watched the tactical display with satisfaction as his fleet prepared for the final assault. The human ship's defensive technology was indeed impressive, but no vessel could withstand the combined firepower of 200 Vorthak warships. In moments, this first contact would end with complete human defeat, and the galaxy would learn. Once again, that resistance to the Vorthak Empire was futile. All ships, prepare to fire on my command, he broadcast to his fleet. Target the human vessel's engine sections and weapon systems. I want prisoners for interrogation. The antimatter torpedo streaked across space faster than the Vorthak sensors could track. Unlike the slow-moving bioplasma bolts the aliens used, human weapons traveled at relativistic speeds, making evasion nearly impossible. The sleek missiles Guidance systems locked onto Admiral Grixtal's flagship and adjusted course with microscopic precision. Lieutenant Tae-hyung watched the torpedo's progress on his tactical display. "Time to impact. 3 seconds, Captain. Target is attempting evasive maneuvers, but they're too slow." The massive Vorthak flagship tried desperately to turn away from the incoming weapon, its biohull rippling with strain as it attempted maneuvers it was never designed to perform. But 5 kilometers of living ship could not match the speed and agility of a purpose-built human weapon. The antimatter torpedoes struck the flagship's hull and detonated. The explosion was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Matter and antimatter annihilated each other in a burst of pure energy that outshone nearby stars. The detonation created a sphere of destruction that expanded outward at incredible speed, consuming everything in its path with absolute finality. Admiral Grixtal's mighty flagship, along with 20 other Vorthak ships that had been in close formation, simply ceased to exist. The bio-vessels didn't burn or break apart. They were converted directly into energy, leaving nothing behind but rapidly expanding gases and radiation. The remaining Vorthak fleet recoiled in horror as their most powerful ship vanished in an instant. Bioships that had weathered countless battles and survived attacks from every known weapon in the galaxy were reduced to their component atoms in the blink of an eye. Aboard the Indomitable, the bridge crew watched the destruction in awed silence. They had seen antimatter weapons demonstrated in training simulations, but witnessing their devastating power in actual combat was sobering. "Direct hit," Lieutenant Tae-hyung reported, his voice quiet with the gravity of the moment. "Target destroyed, along with approximately 20 nearby vessels. No survivors detected." Chief Engineer Nari monitored the explosion's energy signature. "The antimatter reaction was clean and complete, Captain. Total matter conversion as expected. The alien ships appear to have no defense against our weapons whatsoever." On his command chair, Captain Minho felt the weight of responsibility for the lives that had just been lost. He had tried diplomacy, attempted peaceful resolution, and given the aliens every opportunity to avoid conflict. But they had chosen aggression, and now they were learning the terrible cost of that decision. "Communications Officer Hyun-woo, monitor alien fleet communications. How are they responding?" Hyun-woo's face was pale as he listened to the panicked chatter flooding the Vorthak communication channels. "Sir, they're in complete disarray. I'm..." Hearing words like impossible and unknown weapon type repeated throughout their fleet. "Their remaining commanders are trying to understand what just happened." The surviving Vorthak ships began to spread out, breaking their tight formation as fear overcame their military discipline. Many of the bio-vessels were showing signs of stress, their living hulls flickering with patterns that suggested panic and confusion. Commander Veltar, who had been aboard one of the fleet's secondary vessels, found himself suddenly in command of the scattered Vorthak forces. His crystalline implants pulsed with terror as he tried to comprehend the destruction of their seemingly invincible flagship. "All ships, maintain formation," he broadcast desperately. "Do not let the humans break our unity." But unity was exactly what the Vorthak fleet was losing. The bioships, bred for millions of years to believe in their own superiority, were experiencing something they had never encountered before: genuine fear of an enemy weapon. Captain Minho studied the alien fleet's disorganized response and made a tactical decision. "Lieutenant Tae-hyung, prepare plasma cannon arrays. We're going to demonstrate the full range of human weapons technology." "Plasma cannons charged and ready, Captain. Multiple targets acquired." The Indomitable's plasma weapons were different from the bioplasma used by the Vorthak. human plasma cannons used magnetic containment fields to focus superheated matter into coherent beams that could slice through virtually any material. The weapons were powered directly by the ship's fusion reactors, giving them enormous range and destructive potential. "Fire at will," Captain Minho commanded. Brilliant blue-white beams lanced out from the human warship, each plasma bolt traveling at speeds that made the Vorthak weapons look primitive by comparison. The focused energy beams struck their targets with surgical precision, cutting through alien biohulls like knives through tissue. 3 more Vorthak ships exploded as the plasma cannons found their power cores. The living vessel's regenerative capabilities were useless against weapons that destroyed them faster than they could heal. Bio-armor that had evolved to resist plasma weapons was helpless against the concentrated energy beams of human technology. "Target the cruiser formation on the left flank," Tae-hyung called out, adjusting his targeting systems. Multiple hits confirmed. "Alien vessels are breaking apart." The bridge crew watched in fascination as the alien ships tried to respond to the human attack. Some of the bio-vessels attempted to regenerate damage, even as plasma beams continued to slice through them. Others tried to return fire, but their organic weapons were too slow to target the fast-moving human ship. Navigator Ji-won monitored the tactical situation. "Captain, the alien fleet is beginning to scatter. Several ships are trying to break away from the main formation." "Let them go," Captain Minho decided. "We're not here to commit genocide. We're here to defend ourselves and demonstrate that humanity is not helpless prey." But Lieutenant Tae-hyung had other concerns. "Sir, I'm detecting some of the alien ships trying to position themselves to escape to hyperspace. Should we prevent their withdrawal?" Chief Engineer Nari looked up from her station. "Captain, our jamming systems are active. Their bioships use some kind of organic hyperspace navigation that we can disrupt with our standard electromagnetic countermeasures. They can't escape unless we allow it." The revelation that the aliens were trapped sent another wave of panic through the Vorthak fleet. Ships that had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years were suddenly helpless before a single human vessel. Their biotechnology, evolved for countless generations to be the perfect weapon, was useless against human engineering. Commander Veltar desperately tried to rally his remaining forces. "All ships concentrate fire on the human vessel. Overwhelm their defenses with coordinated assault." Several dozen Vorthak ships turned toward the Indomitable and opened fire simultaneously. Bioplasma bolts streaked toward the human ship, but the result was the same as before. The energy shields absorbed the attack completely, barely registering the alien weapon's impact. "Their weapons are having no effect, Captain," reported Chief Engineer Nari. "Shield efficiency remains at 95%. At this rate, they could fire at us for hours without causing any damage." Captain Minho watched the futile alien attack with grim satisfaction. The Vorthak had brought this destruction upon themselves through their arrogance and refusal to consider peaceful contact. Now they were learning that humanity was not the primitive species they had assumed. Lieutenant Tae-hyung continued firing. "Target their weapon systems and engines. I want to disable as many ships as possible without necessarily destroying them all." "Understood, Captain." Switching to precision targeting. The plasma cannons adjusted their focus, striking the alien ship's weapon ports and propulsion systems with devastating accuracy. Bioships that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia found themselves crippled and helpless, their organic weapons destroyed, and their ability to maneuver eliminated. As more and more Vorthak vessels were disabled or destroyed, the remaining alien commanders began to realize the full scope of their mistake. They had encountered a species whose technology was so far beyond their own that resistance was not only futile, it was suicide. The age of Vorthak dominance was ending, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 minutes had passed since the first antimatter torpedo destroyed Admiral Grixtal's flagship, and the once mighty Vorthak Third Battle Fleet was in complete chaos. What had begun as a routine conquest mission had turned into the worst military disaster in their empire's 3,000-year history. Captain Minho watched the tactical display as Lieutenant Tae-hyung systematically disabled alien vessel after alien vessel. The plasma cannons fired with mechanical precision, each shot carefully calculated to cause maximum damage to the bioship's critical systems. The Vorthak vessels, designed to regenerate damage over time, were being destroyed faster than their organic systems could adapt. "Status report, Lieutenant," the captain requested. 73 enemy vessels destroyed, 42 disabled and drifting, Tae-hyung reported. Remaining hostile ships are attempting various evasive maneuvers, but their biohulls are too large and slow to avoid our targeting systems. The alien fleet's formation had completely collapsed. Ships that had operated in perfect coordination for centuries were now scattered across space, each commander desperately trying to save his own vessel. The bioship's natural instincts for survival were overriding their military discipline. Commander Veltar, still aboard his cruiser, tried frantically to establish some kind of defense against the devastating human attacks. His crystalline implants flickered between orange and red as panic and rage warred within him. "All ships, form defensive circle," he broadcast to the remaining fleet. "Concentrate all bioplasma on the human vessel. We must overwhelm their defenses." But the Vorthak ships that attempted to follow his orders were quickly targeted by the Indomitable's weapon systems. Plasma beams sliced through their hulls with surgical precision, destroying weapon ports and power conduits before the bioships could return effective fire. Communications Officer Hyun-woo had been monitoring alien communications throughout the battle, and what he was hearing shocked even him. "Captain, I'm intercepting communications from individual Vorthak ships. They're not just tactically confused, they're psychologically shattered. Some of them are broadcasting surrender requests in multiple languages." "Are they actually surrendering? Or is this some kind of tactical deception?" Captain Minho asked. "From what I can translate, sir, it appears to be genuine. Several ship commanders are requesting safe passage to withdraw from the battle zone. Others are asking about prisoner treatment protocols. I think we've broken their will to fight." Chief Engineer Nari looked up from her station with surprise. "Captain, according to the historical databases we captured from their initial transmission, the Vorthak Empire has never surrendered to anyone. For 3,000 years, they've been the dominant military force in this region of the galaxy. This is completely unprecedented for them." The sight of Vorthak bioships attempting to surrender was indeed extraordinary. These vessels had conquered countless civilizations and had never known defeat. Their crews had been bred for aggression and trained to believe in their own superiority from birth. The psychological impact of facing an enemy they could not harm was devastating their morale. Lieutenant Tae-hyung continued his systematic destruction of the alien fleet. "Captain, several enemy vessels are trying to shut down their weapon systems and broadcast non-aggression signals. Should I continue targeting them?" Captain Minho considered the situation carefully. The Vorthak had fired first and refused diplomatic contact, but they were clearly defeated now. Continuing to destroy ships that were trying to surrender would cross the line from legitimate defense into unnecessary slaughter. "Cease fire on any vessel that powers down its weapons and maintains safe distance," he decided. "But continue to target any ship that shows hostile intent or attempts aggressive maneuvers." "Understood, Captain. Several ships are complying with the surrender protocols." Navigator Jaiwan watched the tactical display as nearly half of the remaining Vorthak ships began shutting down their weapon systems. Sir, it looks like their fleet is splitting into two groups, those attempting to surrender and those still trying to fight. The bioships that continued to resist the human attack were quickly eliminated. Their organic weapons could not penetrate. The Indomitable's shields, while human plasma cannons cut through their hulls with devastating efficiency. The few Vorthak vessels that tried to ram the human ship found their approach intercepted by precisely targeted energy beams that crippled their propulsion systems. Commander Veltar found himself in command of a dwindling number of ships still willing to fight. His own vessel had lost most of its weapon ports to human fire, and his biohull was struggling to regenerate damage faster than it was being inflicted. "This is impossible!" he screamed at his surviving officers. "Our bioships are evolutionarily perfect. How can primitive metal constructs defeat us so easily?" His science officer, Sub-Commander Rathix, had been analyzing the human weapon signatures throughout the battle. "Commander, their technology operates on completely different principles from ours. They use controlled nuclear fusion for power generation, electromagnetic fields for defense, and antimatter reactions for weapons. Our biosystems were never designed to counter such approaches." "Then adapt," Veltar demanded. "Our ships can evolve during battle. Make them immune to human weapons." "Sir, biological adaptation takes time, hours or days at minimum. This battle has lasted only minutes. There hasn't been sufficient time for our vessels to develop effective countermeasures." The truth was becoming clear to the surviving Vorthak commanders. Their biotechnology, while incredibly advanced in its own way, was fundamentally limited by the speed of biological processes. Human technology, based on physics and engineering rather than evolution, could operate at speeds that made biological adaptation impossible. More alien ships began broadcasting surrender signals as the reality of their situation became undeniable. The mighty Third Battle Fleet, which had never lost a single engagement in its history, was being systematically destroyed by a lone human vessel. Communications Officer Hyun-woo received a priority transmission from one of the surviving Vorthak commanders. "Captain, I'm receiving a direct communication request from the alien fleet. The sender identifies himself as Commander Veltar, apparently the highest-ranking survivor. Put him through." The main view screen displayed the image of the alien commander. Veltar's crystalline implants were flickering between different colors, indicating extreme emotional distress. His reptilian features showed clear signs of fear and desperation. "Human Captain," Veltar said, his voice trembling through the translation software. I request terms for surrender. Our fleet cannot match your vessel's capabilities. We ask for mercy for our surviving crews." Captain Minho studied the alien commander with professional interest. "Commander Veltar, your fleet attacked us without provocation and refused our attempts at peaceful contact. Why should we show mercy now?" Because we were wrong," Veltar admitted, his implants flickering with what appeared to be shame. "We believed ourselves superior to all other species. We thought your technology was primitive. We have learned, painfully, that we were mistaken about human capabilities. And what assurance do I have that your people won't attack other human ships or colonies in the future?" Veltar's implants dimmed to a pale blue color. "Human Captain, when word of this battle reaches the Vorthak homeworld, everything will change. A single human ship has destroyed the Third Battle Fleet. Our entire understanding of galactic power has been shattered. The Empire will not risk further confrontation with your species," Lieutenant Tae-hyung reported from his station. "Captain, only 17 alien vessels remain combat-capable. The rest are either destroyed, disabled, or broadcasting surrender signals. The battle was effectively over. In less than 5 minutes, one human warship had destroyed or defeated an alien fleet that had conquered thousands of worlds. The Vorthak Empire's reputation for invincibility was shattered, and the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted permanently. Captain Minho made his decision. "Very well, Commander Veltar. I'll accept the surrender of your remaining vessels. Have all ships power down their weapons and prepare to receive our terms for withdrawal from this region." The aftermath of the battle hung in space like a monument to the galaxy's changing order. Debris from nearly 200 Vorthak warships drifted through the Kepler system, while the 17 surviving bioships floated powerless and defeated. The once mighty Third Battle Fleet had been reduced to scattered wreckage and broken survivors in less than 6 minutes of combat. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the alien survivors through the main view screen. The bioships that had seemed so terrifying and alien just minutes ago now appeared fragile and defeated. Their hulls flickered with dim patterns of light, reflecting the emotional state of their crews. Communications Officer Hyunwoo, open a channel to all remaining Vorthak vessels and broadcast on all frequencies, Captain Minho commanded. "I want to send a message to their entire fleet and any other alien civilizations that might be monitoring this region." "Channel open, Captain. Broadcasting on all standard frequencies and several that appear to be used by Vorthak communications. Networks." Captain Minho stepped forward, positioning himself to address not just the defeated alien fleet, but potentially the entire galaxy. His words would be the first official statement from humanity to the wider galactic community, and their impact would shape interstellar relations for generations to come. This is Captain Minho of the Terran Federation starship Indomitable, speaking to all who can receive this transmission. Today marks the first contact between humanity and the Vorthak Empire. Despite our attempts to establish peaceful dialogue, we were forced to defend ourselves against unprovoked aggression. He paused, looking directly at the view screen where he knew alien commanders were watching. "The Terran Federation seeks peaceful coexistence with all intelligent species in the galaxy. We are explorers and traders, not conquerors. However, any aggression against human space, human colonies, or human allies will be met with appropriate force." Communications Officer Hyunwoo monitored the transmission as it spread across multiple alien communication networks. "Captain, the message is being picked up and retransmitted by various alien civilizations. It's spreading across the galaxy faster than I expected." The impact of Captain Minho's words was immediate and far-reaching. On worlds throughout the galaxy, alien governments and military commanders received the transmission and began emergency sessions to analyze what it meant for their own civilizations. Commander Veltar, aboard his crippled bioship, listened to the human captain's message with growing understanding. His crystalline implants had stabilized to a dim blue color, indicating acceptance of his new reality. "Human Captain," he responded when the transmission ended, "your message will reach the Vorthak homeworld within days. When it does, the Empire will be forced to reassess everything we believed about galactic power structures. You have accomplished something that seemed impossible. You have defeated the Vorthak fleet so completely that our entire civilization must reconsider its place in the galaxy." Navigator Jiwon monitored long-range sensors as alien ships throughout the region began changing course. "Captain, I'm detecting several non-Vorthak vessels altering their trajectories to investigate this area. Word of the battle is spreading quickly." Chief Engineer Nari, had been analyzing the wreckage of the alien bioships, and her findings were remarkable. "Captain, these Vorthak vessels represent incredibly advanced biotechnology. Their ships are essentially living creatures bred for warfare over millions of years. From a scientific standpoint, they're fascinating, but their biological nature made them vulnerable to our physics-based weapons in ways they never anticipated." Lieutenant Taehyung secured the ship's weapon systems as the immediate threat ended. "Sir, our weapons performed exactly as designed. The antimatter torpedoes achieved complete matter conversion, and the plasma cannons cut through their bioarmor with minimal energy expenditure. Their organic defensive systems simply had no answer to our technology." The battle's implications extended far beyond the immediate tactical victory. For 3,000 years, the Vorthak Empire had been the dominant military force in this region of the galaxy. Their defeat would create a power vacuum that would reshape interstellar politics completely. Within hours of the battle's end, the first alien observers began arriving in the Kepler system. Ships from a dozen different civilizations approached cautiously, their crews desperate to confirm the reports they had received. The mighty Vorthak fleet, reduced to debris and survivors, provided undeniable proof that the galaxy's balance of power had changed forever. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session as news of the battle reached their chambers. For millennia, they had cowered before Vorthak might, accepting tributary status rather than face destruction. Now, a previously unknown species called humans had achieved what seemed impossible: total victory over the Empire's forces. "Scan the human vessel," demanded Council Leader Zenthra, her tentacles writhing with nervous energy. "Analyze their technology. How did a single ship accomplish what our combined fleets never dared attempt?" The Council's science teams began intensive analysis of the transmitted battle data, but what they found challenged their understanding of physics itself. Human technology operated on principles that seemed almost magical to civilizations that had relied on bioengineering and energy manipulation for eons. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Minho received a priority transmission from Terran Federation headquarters. Admiral Chen's image appeared on the secondary view screen, her expression a mixture of pride and concern. "Captain Minho, preliminary reports of your encounter have reached command. A single Terran vessel defeating an alien fleet of 200. Ships? The implications are staggering." "Yes, Admiral. The aliens, they call themselves Vorthak, refused diplomatic contact and opened fire without provocation. We were forced to defend ourselves." "Understood, Captain. Your actions were completely justified under Federation law. However, you've just announced humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Every alien civilization, within 100 light years, now knows that humans possess military technology far beyond anything they've encountered." The Admiral's concerns were well-founded. Humanity had planned for eventual contact with alien civilizations, but those plans had assumed gradual peaceful encounters. Instead, first contact had involved the complete destruction of the galaxy's most feared military force. Communications Officer Hyun-woo reported increasing alien activity throughout the region. "Captain, I'm monitoring communications from multiple species. They're all trying to gather information about human capabilities and intentions. Some seem interested in establishing contact, while others appear to be preparing defensive measures." Over the following days, the Kepler system became the center of galactic attention. Alien diplomats, scientists, and military observers arrived from across known space, all seeking to understand the new power that had emerged so suddenly and dramatically. The Vorthak Empire began a complete military withdrawal from the region, abandoning colonies and outposts they had held for centuries. Their biofleets, once the terror of the galaxy, retreated to heavily defended core worlds as they struggled to develop new strategies for dealing with human technology. Commander Veltar, who had been granted safe passage by Captain Minho, delivered his report to the Vorthak High Command. His account of the battle was initially dismissed as impossible, but sensor recordings and testimony from other survivors confirmed the devastating truth. The humans possess weapons that convert matter directly into energy, he reported to the assembled commanders. Their ships are protected by energy barriers that our bioplasma cannot penetrate. Most concerning of all, they achieved this victory while operating at what appeared to be minimal capacity. We never saw the full extent of their capabilities. The psychological impact on Vorthak society was profound. A civilization that had believed itself evolutionarily superior was forced to confront the reality that their biotechnology, while impressive, was not the pinnacle of development they had assumed. Meanwhile, humanity began receiving diplomatic overtures from civilizations that had previously been unknown. The Galactic Council formally requested an audience with Terran, Federation representatives. Trade guilds sought commercial agreements. Scientific institutions proposed research exchanges. Captain Minho completed his mission report while still in the Kepler system, documenting humanity's first contact with alien civilization and the unexpected military engagement that followed. His words would be studied by historians for generations to come. In summary, while we regret the loss of life that resulted from this encounter, humanity has demonstrated that we are not helpless newcomers to the galactic community. We possess the technology and resolve to defend ourselves against any threat. However, our primary goal remains peaceful exploration and trade with all species willing to engage in civilized discourse. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of human expansion had begun, and every alien civilization now understood that Earth's children were not prey to be conquered, but potential allies to be courted or enemies to be feared. The Battle of Kepler 442 had lasted only minutes, but its consequences would echo through the galaxy for millennia to come.